Did the New York Giants find their next Victor Cruz in this 2024 UDFA draft class? We're going to break that down on today's show as you're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Marshall Green. In today's video, we are going to go through all 7 UDFAs that Joe Schoen has added to this football team, and I am going to give a letter grade for every single player. Let's quickly recap the 7 players that they did sign, starting with Alex Johnson, the cornerback from UCLA, Jake Kubis, the interior offensive lineman out of North Dakota State, Marcellus Johnson, the offensive tackle from Missouri, Ayir Asante, the wide receiver from Wyoming, and then Jon Jiles, the wide receiver from West Florida, Casey Rogers, the defensive tackle from Oregon, and then Ovie Oghoufo, the edge from LSU. I want you to predict it for me down in the comment section. What UDFA for the New York Giants will make the roster? Someone is probably going to do it. Which player will it be? Let me know what you think down in the comment section. The New York Giants have had some good luck when it comes to the UDFAs, and they've had some guys that have really become Giants legend, like Chase Blackburn, who was a UDFA following the 2025 NFL draft. What about Victor Cruz? My man's still salsing in the end zone somewhere. He was a UDFA back in 2010. And then Jake Ballard, we saw him make some big plays for this football team. He was also a UDFA in 2010. What a class that was. And then a guy like Mark Herzlich. What a person. UDFA in 2011. And then Spencer Paysinger also in 2011. Other guys like Henry Hynoski in 2011 and James Butler in 2005. So the Giants, they've had some players that were UDFAs that have gone on to be an instrumental piece in some New York Giants history. It's always a long shot, though, for these guys to make the roster. It just is what it is. But they will have a chance to do so, and they will have a chance to prove that they deserve to be one of the 52 players going into Week 1. I was only able to find the guaranteed money that the Giants gave to 4 of the 7 UDFAs. So some of these other guys may have got guaranteed money. I just was unable to find that through my research and contacting people. Marcellus Johnson, he was given $170,000 guaranteed by the Giants, the most. Alex Johnson, $115,000, and then Ovie, $7,500, and Ayir Asante, just $4,000. It doesn't mean that these guys are the ones that are most likely to make the roster. It just means that they had the most competition and the most interest from other teams to have them signed. So the Giants, they had to outbid some of these other teams for guys like Marcellus Johnson, Alex Johnson, and Ovie. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, though, because if any more news, information, updates, or anything come out about these UDFAs, we're going to break it down on this channel. So subscribe and turn your notifications on. All right, let's start with Marcellus Johnson, the player who got the most money guaranteed from the Giants, the offensive tackle from Missouri. I'm going to give it a B grade overall. I understand why the Giants made it kind of a priority to sign him. He appeared in 10 games, primarily on the field goal unit in 2023 for Missouri. He started at right guard against Kansas State, and he was a part of the field goal unit who nailed 80% of their field goals. Before Missouri, he spent 4 seasons at Eastern Michigan. He earned academic All-MAC honors 3 times. As a senior in 2021, he started all 13 games at left tackle. He started all 6 games during the COVID season and appeared in all 13 games as a redshirt freshman in 2019. So he'll go to a Giants offensive line that allowed 85 sacks. I can't believe that is still a number. Giants allowed 85 sacks last year. Second most in NFL history. Marcellus Johnson, maybe he's a player that can compete to make this roster. Another offensive lineman added was Jake Kubis, the interior offensive lineman from North Dakota State. I am also going to give this a B grade. When you go and watch the tape of him, I just like the nastiness that he plays with. He was on the 2023 Stats Perform FCS All-American first team. He was a part of the Phil Steele FCS All-American second team. He was part of the AP FCS All-American third team. All-MVFC first team in 2023. He was the Offensive Lineman of the Week in the MVFC conference twice last year. This is a guy that has had a lot of success in his collegiate career, and at 6'3", 308 pounds, he's got prototypical size to play interior offensive line, and I think he's got a shot to actually make this roster. Here's the offensive line depth chart from the Giants. I believe the starters will be as pictured: Thomas, Runyon, Schmitz, Illuminor, and Neal. But after that, there's some jobs that could be up for grabs. I think Azudu's going to make this roster as well as Stinney and Schlottman. But after that, there's going to be competition. There's no for sure thing that Marcus McKeithen or Yanni Kajus or Nelson or Miles are a lock to make this roster. So maybe Kubis or maybe Johnson could compete and really produce their way into a roster spot for this team. My favorite UDFA the Giants signed is Alex Johnson, the cornerback from UCLA. This was the highest grade that I gave to any of these UDFAs. I'm giving him a B+, and I think he's actually got the best chance of anyone to make this ball club. He had a really nice collegiate career. He led the Pac-12 in interceptions with 5 this past year, tied for 6th highest in the NCAA. He was an honorable mention All Pac-12 selection by league coaches. He was a PFF midseason All-American selection. He has 6 PBUs and 427 career snaps in the slot, and he had an 81.3 PFF coverage grade in 2023. He is a ball hawk. He can attack the ball in the air, sometimes looks like a receiver, 5 interceptions this past year. And I think the Giants, they need to add more talent to this cornerback room. You have Deonte Banks, you have Nick McLeod, you have Cordell Flott, you added Drew Phillips in round 3 of the NFL draft, and then you sign Alex Johnson as a UDFA. There is no guarantee that Trey Hawkins or Thomas Oliver Johnson or Hayes or Aaron Robinson or Darnay Holmes are going to make this roster over him. Johnson is produced at the college level, and I expect him to compete in rookie minicamp as well as training camp, OTAs, and minicamp roll on. Another player that I really like the Giants added is Jon Jiles, the wide receiver out of West Florida. I'm giving him a B grade overall. Another guy like Johnson that had elite production at the college level. Was it against lesser competition? No doubt about it. He started his collegiate career at Fort Scott Community College, where he had 1,543 receiving yards and back-to-back 6 touchdown seasons over 2 years. He then transferred to Virginia Union, where he hauled in 9 more touchdown passes before finishing his final season at West Florida. In 2023, Giles caught 54 passes for 1,081 yards and 13 touchdowns, which squarely put him on the radar of NFL scouts and draft prognosticators everywhere. He was expected to be a day 3 selection. He was not, and the Giants made it a priority to target him once the UDFA pool opened. Prototypical size at nearly 6'3", 220 pounds. A little bit of an older prospect at 24 years old, but he's got the size, he's got the speed and the athleticism, and he has produced every step of the way in his football career. I can't wait to see him get a crack at making this roster. Another wide receiver in Ayir Asante, the local kid, added to this team. I give him a C+ overall grade. If I had to bet, I think Giles has a better chance to make this roster than Asante, but at this wide receiver position that's been a question mark the last couple of years, he'll have his shot. Asante started at Holy Cross. He had 117 catches for 1,718 yards and scored 16 receiving touchdowns. He was second-team All-Patriot League honors at wide receiver for the Crusaders in 3 consecutive seasons. Then he transferred to Wyoming from Holy Cross, where he had 21 catches for 372 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown last year. You look at now the wide receiver depth chart, and you got Malik Nabers, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, Isaiah Hodges, Bryce Ford Wheaton. He was a UDFA last year. You're going to have some players competing for this roster. Giants definitely could use some more pass catchers that could produce. So Giles and Asante, they'll have a shot to make this team. We'll talk more UDFA grades around the corner. But let's talk number 1 overall pick for the Giants. Malik Nabers, playmaking wide receiver at LSU. His jerseys are up for sale. He's not wearing number 1. That jersey is retired, but the site says he is wearing number 1. Once he declares his jersey number, it will be assigned to this jersey, and we will ship it out to you. Go to chatsports.com/neighbors. That is chatsports.com/neighbors. My grade for Ovie Oghoufo. I practiced that name 30 times before the show. I still can't get it. I'm just going to call him Ovie. I'm giving him a C overall grade. This is a guy that's really bounced around through his collegiate career. He played 1 season at LSU after joining 1 season at LSU, following 2 years at Texas, following 3 years at Notre Dame. So he had that connection with Brian Kelly, played with Notre Dame from 2018 to 2020. Then he transferred to LSU, got back together with his college coach, played a total of 58 games in college, starting 31 times. He finished with 152 tackles, 20.5 tackles for loss, and 15.5 sacks. Could never find his footing at any of the 3 stops. He's got the size, he's got the athletic profile, but the technique and the production are a little bit lacking, I would say. If he could put it all together, he could join a Giants defense that could use another pass rusher, but it'll be an uphill battle for him. Defensive tackle out of Oregon, Casey Rogers, was another UDFA that Joe Schoen signed. I am also going to be giving this a C grade. He comes in at 6'4" and 3/8 inch, 294 pounds, started his college career at Nebraska, 2 years with the Cornhuskers, then finished with Oregon 2 seasons. He had 14 starts at Oregon over 2 years, and last year he was credited by PFF with 17 total pressures, 11 QB hurries, and 5 QB hits. In his career, 98 total tackles, 3 sacks, and tackles for loss. We've seen the Giants use some of these late day 3 picks and UDFA selections to build up that defensive line. You'll get a guy like Jordan Riley or DJ Davidson. Maybe they've struck gold here with Casey Rogers and Andre Patterson, the defensive line coach. In my opinion, the best D-line coach in the league, can help work some of these younger guys up into better prospects. We saw that with Riley as well as Davidson. Maybe he can do that once again with Casey Rogers. Quickly, let's recap. Alex Johnson, Jake Kubis, Marcellus Johnson, Ayir Asante, Jon Jiles, Casey Rogers, and my guy, Ovie. Let me know, which one do you think is most likely to make this roster? And also, hit me up on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up over there. Give me a follow, and let's go Big Blue.